So at this point, I'll walk you through the selection sort. That's the other solution for our merge interval. I have all these windows open for easy illustration. So let's start the debugging. So we enter and then we start from here. So we can see the intervals given here with 3 indexes. So we use, because it's not sorted, you can tell we first manually sort it using the selection. So this is the code for that. We do the iteration. The other iteration is from setting the index 0, which is 1, as the minimum. And then we compare the other indexes, which is 1, 2, and 3 to it. So when we step over, we see that at this point it compares so during the selection sort, what it does is it's really, so the 0 and 1 represent the start and the end of the integers in the array, in the interval. So it only compares the starting integers. So here it compares 15 to 1, it compares 8 to 1, it compares 2 to 1 in that order, and then it goes to the next. So it repeats that. So what this code is saying is if this is less, if the 15 is less than 1, then the 15 becomes our minimum integer. And then you compare the 8 and 2 you compare this and this. And if this is the minimum, it compares the next. So in that order. But then here at this point, you can tell that none of them is less than the 1. 15, 8, and 2 is not less than 1. So it sets the 1, the first interval, which is 1 and 3. So it creates a temporal variable where we can save the merge or the interval inside. So now it saves the 1 and 3 into the temp, and then we save it. So from there, we go to the next one, which is minimum becomes the 15 in that order, and then we compare the 8 and 2. But here you can tell that because the 8 is less than the 15, it runs the next code. So the minimum becomes the 8. And then now the 8 compares to the 2. So same thing, because the 2 is less, it becomes a minimum. And then now, so after this is done, what happens is it will swap. So now we know the interval 2 and 6 is the minimum. So it will swap with the initial minimum, which is 15 and 8. So now you can tell from here, from this line of code, the 2 and 6 becomes the next one. And then the 15 and then 18 drops down in that order. So basically, this is what happens until everything is sorted. So when everything is sorted, what we do is we do the merging. The merging, we have to create an array list, an empty array list where you save all the merge intervals into. So the same thing. So this also goes through this iteration. So there has 2 variables involved in the merging here. We have the current and then we have the next. The current is where it starts from, and the next is the one being compared to. So at this point, we say the current is 1 and 3. Our next will be 2 and 6. So if 2 and 6, what it does is this. So here we are not just comparing the start integers. Here we are comparing the last integer for the current to the first integer of the next. So now we are comparing 3 to 2. It says if 3 is greater than 2, then we run the next line of code, which is we compare the 3 to the 6, not 2, and then see which one is bigger, and then we replace that. So now here we can tell that 6 is bigger than the 3. So now we put the 6 onto the 3. So now we get our current becomes 1 and 6. So when I run this, you can tell. So now our current becomes 1 and 6. So that is what we are working with now. So now we have 1 and 6. Now let's go to the next. So our next, we run the same code again. So the next becomes 8 and 10. We already dealt with the 2 and 6. So now it's 8 and 10. And then we go through the same procedure. Is 6 greater than 8? At this point, it says no. So no. And then the next becomes 15. So now at this point, because it's not, everything is not, the 1 and 6 will be saved as the merged onto the array list, the empty array list. So that's what happens right here. So now our current becomes the next. So the next becomes the current. So the next we were working with was 8 and 10. So it becomes our current now for the next iteration. So this is what happens. And then our next becomes 15 and 18 right here. And then we compare, is 10 greater than 15? I don't think so. So now the 10 8 and 10, the interval will be saved as merged into the list. And then now our 15 and 18 becomes the current in that order. And then since it's the end, so we move that one also as merged onto the list. So now all our merged intervals are here. 1 and 6, 8 and 10, 15 and 18. So this proves that it works perfectly. Thank you.